Welcome back.
Welcome back to another episode of
She Means Well. You know, I just had a thought yesterday. If
I have thoughts too.
down the road we come up with like a wellness product or something, it's like She
Ooh.
Means Wellness.
Oh, what would it
I
be?
don't know. So many ideas.
So many ideas.
How you doing?
I'm doing so good. I'm doing really good. It was a great week. How are you?
I'm flying high. I have a hair on my nose. Doing good. I have so much I want to get into today, but on the surface, doing really well.
Good. Yeah. Surface, I'm doing really well. Beneath surface, I'm a bit overwhelmed. Excuse me. We have a lot of moving. Okay, raspy girl. We have a lot of moving parts right now
Yeah, we do.
in our lives, both of our lives. Lots going on. A little overwhelmed, but that's okay. I have this really bad toxic trait where when I get overwhelmed, I just tend to freeze
Oh yeah.
and do nothing, take a nap,
Yeah.
do something that is productive, but shouldn't be doing that thing because
you
it
know
has
what?
nothing to do with the things I'm overwhelmed with.
Oh my gosh. Okay, you know what? It's so funny that you're saying that. A little Enneagram moment. You're a 3, I'm a 9, and 3, 6, 9
triad.
are all in the same. They rotate between each other when
Yeah.
they're like healthy, under
Yes.
stress, whatever. Or not healthy, but secure.
Yes.
But under stress, a 3 moves to a 9, and
that's
that's
how
where I
you
live,
are.
baby.
Yeah.
I look at a to-do list and I'm like, take a nap.
I know. And I'm a to-do list gal.
Yeah.
I'm constantly checking things off. But
They say like a 9 will look at a to-do list and just look at like, I'll pick that one. It's not
Yeah.
like this is the thing that I should be doing.
yes, that's exactly where I'm at right now. But that's okay.
That's so funny though, because I like,
yeah.
I get that.
I love the thrill of procrastination,
Yeah.
There's a deadline. Honestly, I do feel like I can have a better product, have a better result if I just rush myself.
It's the ADHD talking. The sense of urgency, it's like a high.
It is.
And when you hit the deadline and you're like, yep.
I did that in 2 days when I had 3 months.
Yeah. Story of my life. Okay, I have a question for you
Okay.
off the bat.
Okay.
Or maybe not a question, but this was a funny moment and I'm wondering if this has happened to you.
Okay.
Jordan and I the other night were playing a game and the thought of like nicknames came to mind. And he called me he said something and I thought he said beige, which so many people in my life call me beige. Never in my life have I heard that come off of his mouth. And I was like,
oh, really?
no. And I was like, what'd you just say? And he didn't say beige. I think he said babe. I was like, I thought you said beige. And I was like, just say it once. And he was like, no, he was like beige. And it felt like he was like,
It feel yucky?
it felt like he was my brother. I did not like it. But has that ever happened to you where someone like there's a common nickname and then when one person says it, you're like,
I'm trying to think of what the nickname would be, but yeah, someone has before.
Yeah, where it's like, it's just off for the person saying it. Like it felt like he was my brother and I was like, ah!
Yeah. I feel like abs.
Yeah.
I've been called that my entire life.
Yeah.
But that would be one that.
Like if a significant other calls it to you, it just feels like a little.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like noogie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's funny. I don't know when this happened, but beige, you've been called beige forever. I've like meshed it into beige.
Oh yeah, beige.
I like it.
There's some people who say beige. In high school, my friends would call me beige and like my guy friends would be like, beige, and like yell it. And I remember one time being in Safeway, like clear across the store and them seeing me and be like, beige. And I turned around, I'm like, hi. And this lady kind of looked at me weird and I was like, does it sound like he just yelled the B word? And I turned around and I'm like, hi, bitch.
She's like, why would you respond to that?
I know. I was like, these are my friends.
I don't want to talk about this too much longer or ever again after this.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm in a season of life right now where I'm being introduced to a lot of new people.
Yeah.
And those people have started like listening to the podcast or whatever.
Okay.
Baylie.
Uh-oh.
It's going to haunt me for the rest of my life.
What?
People get so worked up about what to call me.
Oh, shoot.
And I literally recently was just like, surprise me. Surprise me. Call me Rob.
It was annoying in the like before the podcast.
It's
Like
the
it was
worst
something
mistake.
that you struggled with, and I know I've just amplified it.
The worst mistake in my life. Anyway.
Abigayle. Okay. I need to give an update on my skin because we left off with me not knowing what was going on. My hands were blistery. So it went from bad to worse.
It got really
Let
bad.
me just say, you guys,
We were all in tears.
my body looked like a Dalmatian. I started to break out so my hands and feet had these like water blisters all over them. I went to urgent care to make sure I didn't have a hand, foot, mouth. I hadn't been like feverish, like sick at all. And then I went to urgent care. They put me on a steroid for 5 days. Later that week, I saw a dermatologist. And by that point, it had spread all throughout my body, but it was hives everywhere. And they were so itchy. I was sleeping on ice packs, rotating 4 between my thighs, my butt cheeks, my feet, my hands, my chest. Like,
But it was like 2 different skin conditions
Right.
going on.
Yeah, it was
You
like
had hives
blisters.
for the most part,
yeah,
and then blisters.
but everything was so itchy. Like I've never felt more like a crackhead in my life. Like
Yeah.
it just was like itching until you bleed. And like I slept with gloves on, slathered in oils and lotions. And then I was getting these products that I thought were better for me. But I think that I think I have a food sensitivity allergy, possible nickel allergy. I don't know. And one of the things was like heavy, like a oat lotion, and oats are really high in nickel. Anyway, long story short, I went to a naturopath and I have to wait a month before I can have allergy testing because of the 5 days I was on a steroid. But she's going to test me for chemicals as well. Cause she's like, in your work environment, it would just be good to know if you do have like a contact dermatitis, like your body basically, you know this analogy, but like your body's like a bucket, and like all these intolerances and sensitivities are like adding water to the bucket.
Mhm.
And eventually the bucket will just overflow with water. And that's when you will have a flare up,
Mhm.
which this was my
Mhm.
first in my whole life.
Wow.
So but come to find out, so I'm leaving the naturopath and she's like, I just want you to be on like a low histamine diet because you can't be taking like the Allegra or Claritin you've been taking, which are antihistamines, which I didn't even really know what those were. So I've been
And
on
what are
this,
they?
still don't really know, but it just like, well, antihistamine, like Allegra and stuff, it's blocking.
I was just gonna say it's a blocker.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
blocking like, so it's going to stop your runny nose, your itchy eyes.
Mhm.
These
What is it blocking? I don't know, but it blocks your
it blocks the symptoms.
intolerance.
Yeah.
Yeah, the symptoms. Yeah.
Yeah, so I can't be taking that. And so I'm like Googling what's a low histamine diet and what's foods that are high in histamine. Everything
Her
that
whole
I
diet.
had been eating.
Yeah.
And so I have been
Like what?
Well, I've been gluten and dairy free when all of this stuff started arising. So probably like a solid 2.5 weeks now. And so I was just avoiding like those food categories. And so I'm eating super clean, like lots of broccoli, lots of
Fresh
which broccoli's not
veggies.
high. Yeah. But one of the main things that's super high in histamines is avocado, which I eat definitely every other day.
One of your favorite foods.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I said that on the podcast. If
Yeah.
it was my last meal.
Yeah. Sourdough and avocado.
Yeah, which fermented foods are high in histamines. Leftovers are high in histamines. But pineapple, there was one day that like Jordan was eating something sweet and I chopped up a pineapple that day. I think I ate the whole pineapple in 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like one of my worst itchy days. And so in kombucha, I was like, well, I was trying to drink less coffee and I'm like, I want something fun to drink. So I was drinking kombucha, fermented. Like it's literally, so I think that's where the hives came from.
I'm sorry.
But
those
I
are all
think-
like your favorite foods.
I know. And the doctor's like, it's not forever. It's just you need to lower the water in the bucket and then you can introduce things back in and just be aware.
Yep.
And I seriously, this will be a good segue into our topic today. But stress, I think, is like probably the number one factor that like caused the blistery things. Because the dermatologist didn't, but the naturopath did think that was dyshydrotic eczema on my hands and feet. And that
what's hydrotic?
dyshydrotic. It's just the type of eczema.
Okay.
And it's these itchy water blisters on your hands and feet.
Itchy too.
So itchy, like so itchy.
So are you like popping them if you itch them?
No, they were like, this is sad and gross, but it was like more like the consistency and texture of like a deep pimple under the skin. Like you can't pop it.
Oh.
And I didn't really pick at them because I was kind of scared of it. Like I didn't want to pop it. And so they were like all over my palms, but it wasn't like you
So
couldn't
if
really
you like
pop it.
popped it, it would be like under the skin.
Well, I didn't really pop any. The only one that popped was this is gross. When I was doing your extensions with my clamp, remember my hand? I was like, oh, that blister just popped.
Yeah.
And it was just like water, put a Band-Aid, cleaned it, put a Band-Aid
I'm
on
like,
it. I know,
no, I'm just kidding.
But what's really gross and crazy is all of the spots in my hands that were blisters now have dried out. And it's like I have been sunburned and my skin is peeling on my hands. Like, look at that.
I'm sorry, but looking at your hands right now, it looks like you're
100 years old.
20, 30 years older than you are.
I know. So
those do not look like Bailey's hands.
No, I told Jordan, I was like, my reward to myself when all of this is done and gone is I'm going to go get a mani-pedi.
Oh,
I'm so excited. But
I don't like getting my nails done.
I don't either, but I haven't done them in so long and I want like a paraffin
you
dip.
need this. You better get the top notch everything.
I'm going to.
You deserve it, Bill.
So, but I think stress has been like a huge component because that's what the root of dyshydrotic eczema, that's where it comes from, which is so crazy.
Interesting.
A lot of times. And so, I want to get into what's been on my mind and I'm just giving you guys an invite in. This has been like a conversation that Abby and I have had over the last couple months, but I want to lead with vulnerability and we want this podcast to be, we're asking people to come on and we want to hear people's stories and their testimonies and like we want to have these honest conversations. And Abby's opened up about her story and her life and things that she's walked through and like now I want to share with you what's going on in my life. And so
and it's all been in God's timing too.
100%.
I think there's some things that had to be done within you before God's like, okay, now you're ready to sit on the mic and be transparent. First off, praise God that you're healed, Baylie.
Oh.
I'm sorry to go back just for a second. I want to thank you guys for praying for Baylie too, because
there's so many people that were praying for me.
Yeah, there were. There really were. Praise God. I'm so happy that you're on the mend.
Thank you so much. Yeah. And thank you anyone and everyone who was praying for me. I even ran into one of my clients when I went to the pharmacy. Like, I'm not kidding. Like there was like 4 days in a row, every day I was going to get like a different thing that the doctor had like written in. And I was like, me again, like just chit chatting with and it was always the same pharmacist.
Hey, Joe.
Literally. But I ran into one of my clients and she was like walking out the door and I was like, you know, when you see someone you know out in public and you're like, I'm not in the mood to chat. And I had that thought. And then I was like, Heather, no, it's Heather. I need to talk to Heather. She's like her kids have all these allergies. And because at first I was just like, I feel gross, itchy. I don't want to.
And you don't know what it is.
Yeah, exactly. And so then I literally was like, Heather. And I like ran, I chased her down.
Heather.
Literally I chased her down. And it was so sweet. We had this whole conversation. She's giving me all that. She's like, your skin looks so much like what one of my sons has gone through. And we left hugging and she was praying over me in the parking lot and I was crying and her kids were like running around. But I was like, that was from Jesus that I ran into you. Like, and she just texted me yesterday, how would the appointment go? Like, so sweet.
It's so funny. Not funny. It's so dumb. Like the enemy like was just like, oh, you don't want to talk. You're not in the mood.
Yeah.
You're gross. You have all this stuff going on.
Yeah.
And then you having that conversation.
It was so what I needed.
Yeah.
And I think too.
Nice try.
Literally. I think too, on that, Jordan and I yesterday were talking about how like dumb the enemy is. And Jordan was like, frick that fricker. And I was like, dude, the other day I was driving in my car and I was just like, you have no place. Get out of my life.
Right.
Like literally speaking that stuff out loud. I don't know. It's powerful. And it's like, Jordan said, I want to like stomp on his neck and like.
Sometimes I'll say out loud, just like, dude, you're pathetic.
Yeah.
Like, get out of here. You can't win here.
Literally.
It's really empowering.
It is.
So back to what you were starting to open up again.
Yeah.
Open up about. I think the Lord's definitely been stirring some new things up inside, or not new things, things that we're starting to recognize inside of us.
Yeah.
There's a lot of transition going on in our lives, but I specifically am talking about you.
Mm-hmm.
The enemy will creep in those times, because in transition, there's a lot of faith that's needed.
Right.
Like, you have to lean into Jesus. You have to keep your eyes fixed on Jesus. And that can be really hard to do when you're in transition. You know, there's so many different things that can distract you.
Yeah.
And I truly do believe that you and Jordan have been under some attacks from the enemy. And
Yeah.
I am so proud of you for keeping your eyes fixed on Jesus. It's hard to do.
Yeah.
And good job.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Yeah. That was going to be the next part that I was going to talk about, is with the skin stuff. Yes, I think stress was a proponent, but I had probably 4 or 5 people specifically when I started to, which I'm about to get into it, but started to talk about these changes in our lives. And this was before the skin, probably like a month before the skin stuff, for 3 weeks or so.
Mhm.
People saying, like, because you're choosing to make changes in your life, guard your heart, protect yourself,
Yes.
because the enemy's gonna want to sneak in, creep
Yep.
in, distract you, say like, you don't want to make that change, da da da
Yep.
da. Or this skin stuff. Like, I seriously have felt like that is a component of just like trying to distract us from what we're doing and
Yep.
what we're talking about. In like manifesting in this physical way. And I've been stressed, and I think I've just been, okay, we're just gonna get into it.
Yeah.
So, to catch you guys up to speed, Abby knows because she was part of this conversation, but let's see. I'm going to be bouncing around in the timeline a little bit, but I'm just going to jump in at when I got back from Mexico. I'm looking at my notes real quick to make sure I'm not missing anything that I wanted to say.
Mic is yours today, baby.
Baby!
Ew, I've never called you
Like
baby.
that. Like that.
Ooh, that was yucky. Wash my mouth with soap.
Are there certain people I get that vibe from when they call me bae? And there's certain people that like, I like when they call me bae. Like, I'm like, oh, that's sweet. And there's certain people that I'm like, everybody, if you already say it, it's fine.
Just
careful.
drop it. Drop it. That's what I recommend from personal experience. You'll lose your identity. Who am I? I don't know. Okay. Enough is enough.
Dude, why is that so funny? Okay. I'm really regretting I put some like a light color on my waterline. That's another thing, is I think if I do have a nickel allergy, did I tell you this? It's what gives makeup pigment. That ingredient is like, so.
Well, good thing we're white as snow.
But my my eyes have been watery my whole life, and I bet you that's like my body's telling me.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, but I won't be ugly. So having this platform is a serious accountability in my life.
It is.
And it wasn't until the last like handful of months, I guess, that I've really it's been prevalent of like how I want to practice what I preach, you know? And I think when we first started, it's like, oh, this will be so fun and we'll have these funny stories to share, which we do. But also it's becoming so much more clear of the vision of like what we want to talk about and who we want to be. And you just realize like social media and this and real life, like they're all different avenues that people see you show up.
Yeah.
And I'm the one constant that's in all those different lanes. And like, it becomes really clear if you're having imposter syndrome, you know, and you're just like not being authentically the same person in all of those shoes.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll start with when I got back from Mexico, we sat down to record, and I think we've touched on this, how we sat down to record our Easter episode, and we were halfway through, and Abby's like, Baylie, there's just so much on my mind. Like, I just need to talk to you. And I'm like, are you okay? I was kind of annoyed. I was like, no. We got to get this episode out.
You
and
were
like,
in work mode.
Yeah, I was. And I'm like, what's going on? And you were just like, and we had one other like more serious heart to heart on this topic, a couple maybe like a month and a half before that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you were just like, what's going on? And I guess I could talk about a month and a half before that. Abby was like, I want to talk to you. I feel like you don't talk about what's on your mind, what you're struggling with. You said, I feel closest to you, honestly, in the most vulnerable when we're on the mic. And I feel
Yeah.
like we don't have these conversations candidly off the mic. And like, you're my best friend. And like, are you okay? And you're like, if you're not talking to me, I don't care. But like, who are you talking to? Are you talking to
Yeah.
somebody?
Somebody asked me, who's your best friend? And I was like, Baylie. And then it got me thinking, I'm like, we don't really have heart to hearts other than on the mic.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah. Yeah. No. And that seriously, thank you, because that's the most loving thing to do. And I think if anybody could relate, like I'm just going to share truly where I've been coming from, because it just kind of slapped me upside the head where I'm like, I think I present leading, like, I think I'm good at creating a vulnerable environment for people to share, but I don't open up myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like to make people feel comfortable. And I think it's easy for me to guide those conversations and like hold that safe space. But it didn't really hit me that I'm not partaking, and like I'll match someone like, oh yeah, I went through something like that. But it's like only like they lead and then I follow.
Right. You're not going to take initiative to open up.
Yeah. And I think the root of it is it just feels uncomfy. It feels uncomfy for anybody. But I think I think that
avoiding being uncomfy is the easier route.
Totally. And during that conversation, I had told you, like, I'm just getting this image of like baking a cake, like seriously looking at our kitchen, like imagining like what it looks like when either of us bake or cook. It's like, it's a
looks
mess.
a little different when I'm in there.
But like flowers everywhere, eggs, whatever, like it's messy. And I just want to, in my life, I have been living like I'm walking around with this finished product. Like, this is what it looks like. And in reality, like I need to let people in on like the baking of the cake, not just the perfect cake.
Right.
So to get specific, being on the podcast and talking about like being a Christian and like living the way that God has intended our life to be, a huge elephant in the room for me has been the fact that Jordan and I live together. And it's been hard because I moved in like a year and a half ago, and where I was spiritually is so different than where I am now. And when I moved in here, I told my parents, like, I'm moving in with Jordan and I'm just letting you know. Like, I'm not.
You did?
I'm,
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I'm not asking about it. And I actually want to share a bit about my dad's like, can we go to coffee like before I moved in?
Okay.
And so we went to coffee.
After you telling them that you're doing this?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was like, great. What's he going to say? Like, I know what he's going to say. He's going to try to talk me out of it.
About it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Because, and I, like, listening, I get that, like, on the outside looking in, this doesn't make sense, especially if you don't have the same set of morals and values that I do. But for me, I always was raised like, there's a way that there's a order of operations. And if you follow those order of operations, you are going to be like protected and cared for.
Yes.
And like you protect your heart. Like in high school, I had friends who dated and I would just be like, and not that it's bad to date. It's not bad to date or go on dates when you're in high school and like make memories and whatever.
Or
but
when
like,
you're single.
Yeah. And when you're single, but just like to guard your heart. And like we've talked about dating with intention. And I think from a young age, I had so many people telling me, and not in a braggy way, but like, you're so wise. Like, I feel like you make these decisions that like people your age don't make. And I just remember being like, I don't really want to sign up for heartache like that.
Yeah.
And I could tell you right now, I'm probably not going to find my husband in Ording at my high school.
Yeah.
Like, it's just probably not. And for sure, I like liked people, went on dates and stuff, but like, I just
sparsely.
I wasn't serious. It wasn't like a serious boyfriend ever. And so anyway,
order of operations.
And like even one time Jordan and I were in New York and we were talking with someone about like living together before we got married. And I'm like, no, like literally we won't. And it's not even like something that a pressure my parents have put on me. That was
Mhm.
my own like, no, like that will be such an exciting season of life to step into, like having
Mhm.
not lived together
Right.
before and like discovering all these things.
And like you said, order of operations, there's a lot of protection that comes from that. When you live together with your significant other, I feel like you're put in a place where temptation is all around.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're seeing your boyfriend or your girlfriend in clothes that you wouldn't see them out in public in, you're going to be tempted,
Right. Yeah.
like regardless of who you
Oh
are.
yeah.
Yeah, the worldly view is that you're doing a good thing.
Right.
And it's like, oh, you are actually protecting yourself because when you live with someone, you learn so much about them that you didn't know. Yeah, but God saves that for us for a reason
Mhm.
until we get married.
Mhm.
I know that the divorce rate when you live with your significant other before getting married is higher.
Yeah.
I'm going to look up that statistic right now.
Okay. I'll keep going and just let me know when you find that. So before we moved in together, I told my parents and my dad's like, "Hey Jane, can we go get coffee?" So we go get coffee and he walks in. We're just, "Hi, how are you? Hi, love you, whatever." He walks in and I notice he has something in his hand and it's a box color. I'm like, "What the heck are you doing with black box color in your hand?" Have I ever told you
Oh,
this?
like hair?
Hair color.
Okay.
And we sit down and he's like, "Hey, real quick before we get into like talking, there's this gal at church and she uh I heard her talking about like wanting to get her hair and she said, "Oh, I really like Polly's hair. It's like really blonde and bright." Um and she said, "Yeah, but I colored my hair with black box dye and I have another one that I was about to do it again, but then like I'm just curious, like, is Baylie taking new clients? Like, what would the process look like for me to go lighter?" So, my dad was like, she happened to like bring the box in and I told her like, I would bring it to you and you could look at it and tell me like, this is what she used, like,
Mm.
whatever. And I was like, in hook, line and sinker. He's bait and hook set me up. And I was like, oh, well, getting black box dye or any box dye out of the hair, like it's going to be more of a journey. You're going to like have to lift through all this artificial color. Like it kind of stinks because if her hair was all virgin before, it would have been way easier to get bright blonde. Like
Mhm.
it's not impossible now, but it's a lot harder and it's going to
Mhm.
be more expensive and it's going to be
More damaging.
more damaging. Like it's
Mhm.
just a lot of things. And
Yeah.
he's like, oh, okay, I'll tell her, yada, yada, yada. Then we end up having this whole conversation and he's just like, we get into like about Jordan and I living together. And he's like, honey, I don't do cars, but I do people. And I've had so many couples that I see dating, they don't live together, then they live together. He's like, I find it so few and far between that people draw closer to the Lord in that time, that people get more involved in serving at church, that people, because you just feel this like, it feels like you're walking around like the elephant in their room. And it does. Like speaking from experience at church, oh, it's my boyfriend. Where do you live? Oh, we live in Sumner. And it just, for me, feels like I just feel the like, oh, they live together. Like, and that's
Mhm.
because I'm convicted of it.
Right.
And they maybe are just like, oh, like, no,
Mhm.
I'm serious. Nobody, not one time, anybody from church, anybody, not even our pastor, nobody has ever one time said to me, like, so you guys live together? Not once. But I
Which is
feel,
kind of annoying,
yeah, but I feel,
other than me.
well, no, I don't think it is. I think that like it's delicate. I think that's how people get hurt by church because people are walking around wagging their fingers. I think that you need to have
Well,
a relationship
yeah.
to be able to speak
Oh,
into someone like that.
100%.
So
Yeah.
I don't think it's weird that someone
100%.
hasn't.
Well, I don't think it's wrong to ask questions. Not to say like you shouldn't be doing that, Baylie,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I personally wish that I ask questions more often.
Yeah. I think I would agree
Hard
with
questions.
that. Yeah. But I
Yeah.
think that you need to have,
A closeness.
yes,
For sure.
because I guess I've had, like, I'm thinking about a time I had a conversation with Janelle about it and just, we've had conversations about it. And I guess it
Mhm.
feels good to like talk about it and bring awareness to it because then it feels safe. Like you want to talk to that person about your struggle
Yes.
versus them being like,
Yes.
why do you live together? You shouldn't live together. And I think
Agreed.
that's where Christians seriously mess it up.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. 34% of couples that move in together before marriage have a higher chance of getting divorced.
Wow.
34%. That's pretty high.
That's a good chunk.
That's a good chunk.
Yeah, that is.
Mhm.
Wow. So anyway, Yeah, my dad. I don't do cars. I do people. I find it like hard that people come out of this stronger as believers. And like marriage for me, like for us, I know I can speak on your behalf too. It's like I think about the vows that are going to be said on that day and when we get married. And so much of that is about Jesus being the center of
Mm.
our marriage, not
Mhm.
Jordan being the center of my marriage and not
Uh-huh.
my kids being the center of
Yeah.
my marriage. It's like the Lord. And like
Mhm.
for two people to equally lean on the Lord and like it's the whole like braided cord analogy where it's like a rope with two strands is weaker than a rope with three strands and it's
Mhm.
like to intertwine like God being the
Mm.
center it's like
Mhm.
you're so much stronger and there's
Mhm.
so much that just gets pushed off the table in terms of like arguments and how you see the world when you
Mhm.
are equally yoked when you
Mhm.
are pulling from that same foundation.
Right.
So anyway, so we get done having coffee and I'm like, thanks, Dad. Like, you've given me a lot to think about. I love you. And I left it at that. I didn't tell him yes or no. And then at the end, he's like, so, and I feel like I can like hear the piano music, like transition from church. And he's like, so, listener. No I'm kidding. He's like, so, Baylie, there is no girl with a box. I just picked this up on my way here. And he's like, but it's just an analogy that you can see through the lens as a professional of like the roadmap to marriage, going through doing things the way of like having no color on your hair. It's
Mm.
just such a seamless process. It's beautiful
Mhm.
the first time.
Yep.
It's perfect lift. You might not
Right.
even need to tone. Like he's
Right.
not saying this, but this is what it is. And with the box color, it's like you're gonna need to do the color remover. You're
Mm.
gonna need to go back, factory data reset, and
Yep.
it's harder. It's not
Yeah.
easier, it's harder. And I was like, shoot, he just like punched me in the gut.
Mhm. In the best way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was such thank you, Dad. Like it was, I'm not gonna get through this episode not crying, but it was such a good, clear analogy for me to see. And I was just like, you know, I'm gonna choose to shelf that and ignore it. And I'm moving in, like, whatever.
Really, what is like that was your
Yeah, because it was like
why?
train was already rolling. Again, I was not where I am right now.
Yeah.
And I was just like
So was it
the
more
innermost
convenient?
yes, 100%. The innermost part of me was like, I know that this doesn't feel like I'm getting the green light in my own spirit, but it was like plans had already been made. Honestly, Jordan had two other roommates and one was moving out. It was really last minute. The other one was like not expect, and it was just kind of like, it makes the most sense financially. And that's what
Mm.
people say. It will save money and it just makes sense. Dude, I have not had a more like, just to be transparent, like things didn't get easier. I didn't save more money.
Uh-huh.
I was like, what?
I know.
Like, what?
It makes sense where?
Yeah, it doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. It didn't make things easier. It honestly made our dynamic as a couple, it didn't feel like I live with my boyfriend and it's always been with a roommate, which is I'm honestly so glad for that protection because I know that when we live together getting married, it will be the first time that we live together like that. And it's going to be special and not roommate vibes cuz this living together, it's been like plus Caleb or plus you. And I feel like when it was plus Caleb, it was like Jordan and Caleb doing bro things. And I'm like, let me know when you're done. And then with
Mhm.
us, he's like him, like, let me know when you guys are done. Like it
Mhm.
just is like, it's just different. It's
Mhm.
roommatey.
Mhm.
And anyway, so yeah, so I move in and then shortly after that, whatever, fast forward, Abby moves in, we start the podcast. And there was one time that my sister had listened to an episode and it was early on, probably one of more, our first like heavier hitter
No, it was your
spiritual.
purpose is calling.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Talking,
Ring ring, your purpose is calling.
yeah. Talking about like how God wired you and like using that to glorify him.
And I opened up about like he's calling us higher.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so we were so excited about that episode. Like it just
Felt
felt
really
like
good about it. Still do. Love it.
totally. And it felt like God put it on our hearts and this is what we need to share. Someone needs to hear this. So I like tell my sister, let me know when you listen to it. Like, and it's, like I'm not a pastor. And so this is new to like be speaking on something that God's put on your heart for
Mhm.
people to hear. And
Yeah.
like, yeah, there might not be people in an audience right here in front of us, but like we know that there are people listening and it's
Right.
it's kind of vulnerable after the fact when you see how many people listen to
It
it
is. Yeah.
and you're like, well, I hope that I made sense. Like
Yeah.
has given me such a different understanding for people who are pastors and
Yeah.
preach. And
Same.
and like you said the other day, like when after the service, when you're like, oh, that was such a good word to whoever, my dad, Luke, whatever. And it's like, thanks. And I feel like it's like, well, that wasn't me. That was like
Yeah.
God speaking through me. And I hope it made sense. Like,
Yes.
I feel like almost always I'll ask my dad, how'd church go? And he always goes, you know. And it's like, I know that nobody listening to the message would have said, it was okay.
Right.
Like it's always, it's
It
amazing.
speaks to someone.
Totally.
Yeah.
So, anyway, Mikey listens to the episode and she texts me and she's like,
She texts us.
she texts us,
She texts us.
she texts us. And she said, guys, I just listened. Love the episode. Love what you're saying. But I feel like as a big sister to both of you, I need to do the loving thing. And loving isn't always easy. And it's never easy. It's a choice. And I need to like call you out. Like you're talking about God moving in your life and purpose for your life. And I love what you're saying, but like, could you not understand that it's a little bit confusing outside looking in? Like, cause I just see this like person listening who wasn't raised in church and doesn't get it. And it doesn't come naturally. And they didn't grow up with spiritual practices and whatnot. And it would be confusing. It's like, even people who aren't believers know that there's a way that God says we're supposed to do things.
Right.
It's like date, marry, move
Yeah.
in, baby, whatever. Like there's an
Yeah.
order of operations.
Right. And back to
Everybody.
what you said in the very beginning too, is like, you understand that this is a responsibility to
Yes.
have.
Yes.
And so when Mikey sent that very loving text to
Yeah.
us in the most loving way, basically was saying, don't be a hypocrite.
Yeah.
Like practice what you preach.
Yeah.
This is a responsibility. And Baylie and I are like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
I truly believe like the Lord will put things on our heart to talk about.
Yeah.
That he's working through us, right?
Personally.
Yeah. And so I still feel no shame about that episode whatsoever.
No.
But like Mikey's text was like such a wake up call of like, live the way that you're preaching or
Literally
practice what you're preaching.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so I responded and I just was like, you're right.
Yeah.
Like I didn't feel a defensiveness at all. I was just like, can you please be praying for me? Because now looking at the way my life is, I do live here. And for me, that was the thing, that was the elephant in the room of not practicing what I'm preaching.
Mhm.
And I'm taking the box color out. Like,
Yeah.
it's a different path. It's not
Yeah.
a virgin application.
No.
Like it is, okay, now we got to deconstruct and like factory data reset, get this color off. We're going to have to tone. We're going to have to do all these things to get
It's
this.
like when we got our new
reset.
phones.
Literally.
It's so
Literally.
hard. A
Reset.
process. Yeah.
So I'm like, that was probably back in like November or something. And I'm like, please be praying for me in that way. Like, I don't know what the roadmap looks like from here to feeling like I'm doing things right.
Mm-hmm.
But please be praying for me. So then Abby and I have had a conversation or two, a couple months later where she's like, hey, like back to Mikey's text, like, where are you at with that? Like, again, with love, like, where are you at? Because we haven't really talked about it. And I was like,
Since.
dude, I just feel like, and maybe like, speaking about the whole Enneagram thing, like as a 9, it's so much easier for me to, and anybody, I guess, when you're living in sin and doing the wrong thing, it's so much easier to just go to sleep. Go to sleep. Like literally go to sleep. Night, not happening. I'm fine. And I just had been like it had been on my mind. I had been praying about it and I had so many nights and I love sleep. I get like 8 to 9 hours every night and I have never had a problem falling asleep. And there was so many nights of me just like staring blankly at the ceiling, just like, God, I just feel like there's so many things. Like, how do I fix this? And like, can it be fixed? And like, is Jordan on the same page? Like, and I was so like, I didn't even know how to talk to Jordan about it. And like, that's saying a lot. Like, he's someone that like, he's my best friend. And like, we
someone that you want to be marrying.
Yeah. And we weren't having these vulnerable conversations. So that told me that like, we both were intentionally asleep.
I just want to say real quickly, I feel like that back to that first conversation we had, I feel like your heart posture or what you're trying to explain to me in that moment, I just picture you like with a piece of tape over your mouth and you can just like you wanted to talk about it. You wanted to get all of this stuff out.
Yeah.
But you just wouldn't because you were so overwhelmed. You were embarrassed. You wanted people to see the perfect cake.
Yes.
But the Lord is going to use all of the mess in the kitchen, all of the flour everywhere for something very beautiful.
Yeah.
Continue.
Dude, that's so exactly how I felt. Like, I felt like, yeah. And so like,
let's rip the tape off.
Rip it off. Get that mustache waxed.
Yes. You're doing it, girlfriend.
So that happened. Then Jordan and I go to Mexico. And again,
I asked her, I go, hey, when I was in my toxic relationship, you said you wouldn't travel with me.
Yeah. Abby,
what changed?
Abby and her boyfriend wanted to go to Mexico. And I was like, I won't until Jordan and I are married. Like, I just, which was such a lie because we were still sleepovers all the time. And it's like, again, it's because I was presenting the perfect cake. Like, and I was just lying. It's like we were basically living together. But if I would get on a plane and go to a hotel with my boyfriend, that was like to the world, like, oh, we have
other people can see it.
Other people can see it. But when it's just like us as double couples hanging out and then like nobody sees the cake and it's fine. And it's literally personal life, Instagram life, professional life. Like, it
literally just painting a picture for the world.
Spinning plates in all these different lanes. Yeah. And if I were to go on a trip or to move in with someone, it's like a public declaration of what actually is going on.
But what you're saying is you were having this conviction the entire time within yourself, like, as much as you were painting, as much as you were painting this perfect picture, the Lord saw everything going on.
Oh yeah.
I think back to that episode when you're like, take a hard look in the mirror. That's not a fun place to be. And it's like,
no, I didn't want to look at myself in the mirror.
Yeah.
And again, it's like, I'm not saying anything on this mic, on this podcast that I'm literally living in real life. So this is just, the elephant is walking out of the door today. Okay, you guys, like, it's out of the room. Goodbye. Bye-bye. Ow. So yeah, then when I got back from Mexico,
the tape is ripped off.
Shall we? We had this conversation, Mikey's text, like, these are all like parts of the picture. And
let me interrupt you. Yeah. Mikey's text, our conversation. And in that conversation, I told Baylie too, it started to become apparent to me at the time, like, Baylie, this platform, it's...
So we were talking about the stick?
Yeah.
Well, I guess that was after, but...
Yeah. It's a big responsibility.
Yeah.
And I feel like if we're not walking with the Lord in every single area of our life, what makes us think that he's going to bless this?
Well, right. And it's like, I know that like when you live how God calls us to live, like he has so much abundance he wants to shower us with. But we do things on our own and we are like, like, and then you just see people who do live this way, who do walk things out, and you're like, wow, life looks easy for them, huh? And you're like judging from the sidelines when in reality, it's like, God has that for you too, but you won't move out of the driver's seat. And I feel like I've said that so many times on this podcast, like, get out of the driver's seat. And like, I'm actively choosing to drive as I'm saying that, And it's like, God has so much he wants to bless you with. So, when we tried to record the Easter episode when I got back from Mexico, Abby's like, dude, there's so much on my mind. And like, I just need to circle back. Because where are you at with that? And thank you for doing that. Because it's like, I was like awake and had hit snooze, I had hit snooze for sure.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that's what a true friend should do.
Yeah.
That's what I want to surround myself with women in my life that are going to be that way.
Well, and
Get in my face.
listen to prompts that the Lord has put on your
Right.
heart. It's not like you're just walking around like, I can fix everybody. It's not you.
Yeah.
It's like, God, thank you, Lord, for putting that on your heart and you being obedient, and like, it's uncomfy. I've been in those shoes too for you, where it's like,
I can't tell you how many conversations I had with like other women in my life that I look up to. I was just like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And leading up to that conversation too, I started wondering, like, is me living here showing like Baylie and Jordan that I support their decision in living together? Because
yeah,
I don't. And I had said some things to you
Yeah.
that implied like I made a mistake living with my boyfriend. I'll never do that again.
yeah,
But then it became so apparent to me that the Lord is like, no, I put you here on purpose.
yeah,
I'm using you to be something for Jordan and Baylie, a
Yeah.
voice in their life.
Yeah.
Continue. Sorry.
No, thank you. Yeah. So then that was the conversation that was like the final, no, like literally we're waking up and we're getting out of bed this time. So yeah, Jordan
You
and I,
received it too. Like
Oh.
your heart posture.
I was just ready to,
Yeah.
I'm ready to get out of bed.
You had been ready, I think, from like the Mikey text.
Yeah.
I think that was a big switch for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you weren't defensive whatsoever at
Yeah.
all. I
Yeah.
think the only defensiveness was when I was like, we need to talk. And you're like, dude.
I know, because I was nervous. I'm like, we've already been off for 3 weeks. Like, we gotta give these people an episode.
I know.
God,
stop it. Yeah.
literally. So anyway, so then Jordan and I have this conversation about it, and I was basically like, I don't know about you, but like, I'm not going to marriage this way. Like, I'm not. I love you, and I want a healthy marriage.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've both been like, night night. And so that felt
Girl.
good. Even just to talk about it felt like so good. And Jordan received it. He was not like, Baylie, no, like, let's just stay here.
Praise God.
It was like, yeah, and honestly, Jordan and I have been together for a long time.
How long?
8 years. And it's just like, I look at our timeline of our life, and like, when Mikey sent that text, I was on River Road driving, and I literally started laughing to myself. And I had this thought of like, I could have dated him, and we done things like A plus B, C, D, whatever. And we could probably be married with a baby on the hip right now. But again, like, God doesn't have a plan A and a plan B for your life. He has a plan A and a restored plan A. And so this is our restored plan A. And I feel like this is the reason, like, the podcast, like, I could have done things, quote unquote, the right way, but because God doesn't waste a wound, like, I'm now getting to share my story in front of hundreds of people, and like, people are going to hear this, and like, I could have been baby on the hip and no one gets to know my testimony this intimately, but like, this is for not only me, but like for other people to hear. And
Amen.
like, it is possible to get the box color out.
Amen.
Like, it's hard. And like, I know that Jordan like respects my family so much, and us moving in together was like such a,
Because you guys weren't talking about it.
no.
You wanted to live in the dark room.
I just wanted people to stop caring about my life so much. Honestly, I'm like, stop asking me if I'm engaged yet. Stop like caring about like when that's gonna happen. Like, literally stop caring. And like,
Yeah, I remember asking you in the room. I think this was before Mexico. I think this was before Mikey's text, all of that. I was just like, dude, like, you and Jordan are talking about marriage.
yeah,
Are you okay? You're not talking to your closest, what I would like to think,
yeah,
closest girlfriend.
yeah,
What dress you want,
yeah,
what flowers you want.
yeah,
And you didn't say much.
yeah.
And to me, I left that conversation, went to my room and prayed. Prayed. I'm like, I don't know what to say to her, but I have so much I want to say, but I don't know how to say.
Yeah. And I was like,
Be my girlfriend. talk.
I know. And anyway, so
Sorry.
no, it's okay. I left that conversation being like, cause you were asking, are we going to get engaged in Mexico? And I was like, I'm not getting the vibes.
I was like, do you think?
we've been together for 8 years. I feel like, I hope I feel surprised, but like, I feel like I'm going to get a vibe. I don't know. Like, I just feel
Yeah.
like you get a
I'm
vibe.
sure girls.
It
Yeah.
wasn't like, are you going to get your nails done? You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And Jordan would be like, Abby, can you make sure,
Yeah.
Baylie? Like,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah.
So anyway, I
He better.
call up my mom and I was like, Mom, I need to talk to you. And I just spill my guts about where we're at, what's going on. I don't know from A to B how we're going to get the box color out, but like, hello, ring, ring, ringy dingy. I'm bringing awareness. Like, throw me a lifeline, help. Like, we're trying to change things here. And we've been avoiding the conversation, but like, we're here. We're awake. We're out of bed. And she's just like, Baylie, I can't even tell you. She's like, I can't wait to get off the phone and tell your dad, like, do you care? And I'm like, because my dad was out in the lawn and I was like, I just have to tell you this right now. Like, I can't wait for you guys to be together. Like, I just need to tell you right now. And so anyway, she's like, I've been praying. I feel like this is the prodigal son. Like, even like you just talk to me about it. And God bless my parents. They navigated this, I feel like, so strategically and so lovingly because I remember before I moved in, my mom, there was 2 conversations we had on the phone about it. And the second one, she said, she was like, this is the last time I'm going to say something in the sense of like speaking on your decision because you're a grown up, you're a big girl and you can make whatever decision you want to make. And I'm your mom, but this is the last time. Basically, I'm going to say it in a way that like, I'm worried, Baylie. I'm worried things aren't going to get easier. But once you do make that decision, like, I'm here for you, but I'm not going to make you feel bad for it, basically.
Yeah.
I'm not going to push you away. I'm not going to make comments about it. And never did once did mine or Jordan's parents. I know Mom and Debbie. I know my mom and Jordan's mom and our parents had to have been like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
What are they doing?
Yeah.
And no one, and I'm just so thankful for the way that I think that like you speaking to me toe to toe and Mikey speaking me toe to toe was so what I needed because when it comes from like a parent, it's like, I'll prove you wrong. Don't, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that there is a way that parents can like disagree with their children, especially adult children. But it's like at the end of the day, you're an adult and you're going to make your decisions. And I think it's the more appropriate and like healthy thing to do where it's like, I'm here for you. And this is how I feel about this situation. But like, I want you to know this is 100% your choice. And you're like, I'm not putting pressure on you. And for them to like put all of that like awareness of like, this is 100% you. Okay.
Yes.
And it's like, I'm not, and it makes it feel real because it's like, yeah, this was my choice. And this is what, anyway. So
do you feel like you felt conviction from the very beginning?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you didn't.
No.
You thought you could still
ignore it?
Weasel your way?
I thought I could ignore it. I thought we could just get married, engaged while we live together. And it's going to be like.
Were you like, I know that this is going to make marriage a little bit harder, but we can do it?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I just thought we could like bake the cake and then we're married. Fine.
And God would look past.
Yeah. Honestly, like.
He loves me anyway type of vibe.
Yeah. And it's like, there's so many people
I've been there.
I talked to that are Christians, that are believers, that are like, well, I mean, you guys are gonna get married. God knows your heart. And it's like, I know, but like, no. And don't tell me that, please. It's making me feel like better about it. And even when people would tell me like the reasonings, the way you can justify things, it's like, I didn't feel like and for me, like I did not feel this green light in my spirit, you know?
Yeah.
And so after I talked to my mom that night, my dad's like, or maybe it was the next day, he's like, hey, you have a couple minutes? And I was like, so excited to talk to him. And so he calls me and he's like, hey, are you close to your Bible? And I was like, yeah, let me go inside. And so he was like, am doing this thing where I'm reading through Psalms and I'm reading 5 Psalms a day. And there was one that just stuck out to me. And he's like, every day I have this list of people that I pray for. And you and Jordan are like, every day I'm praying this specific prayers over your life. And he was like, Psalm 32 just like jumped out at me. And like, he had read it a couple days. Yeah, I'm going to. He had read it a couple days before I had started talking about all this. Okay.
So after conversation with your mom.
Sounds like I just talked to Loogie on the mic. Sorry about that.
After our second conversation.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. So I'd already talked to my mom, but I think my dad had read this verse before he knew about all this.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So it says, I'm going to try to read this without crying.
I can read it too.
It's okay. I'm going to try to do this. Okay. Oh, what a joy for those whose disobedience is forgiven, whose sin is put out of sight. Yes, what a joy for those whose record the Lord has cleared of guilt, whose lives are lived in complete honesty. When I refused to confess my sin, my body wasted away, and I groaned all day long. Day and night, your hand of discipline was heavy on me. My strength evaporated like water in the summer heat. Finally, I confessed all my sins to you. And I stopped trying to hide my guilt. I said to myself, I will confess my rebellion to the Lord, and you forgave me. All my guilt is gone. Therefore, let all the godly pray to you while there's still time. That they may not drown in the floodwaters of judgment. For you are my hiding place. You protect me from trouble. You surround me with songs of victory. The Lord says, I will guide you along the best pathway for your life. I will advise you and watch over you. Do not be like a senseless horse or mule that needs a bit and bridle to keep it under control. Many sorrows come to the wicked, but unfailing love surrounds those who trust the Lord. So rejoice in the Lord and be glad, all you who obey him. Shout for joy, all those whose hearts are pure. Psalm 32. And
you were shooketh.
It was so, and my dad, he said, you read it to me. He's like, I'm a bad reader. And I'm like, yeah, right. And
gosh, you were weeping. I was up in my room and I saw Baylie downstairs with her Bible shakily reading. I'm like, oh my.
She's like, are you okay?
Yeah.
And I came upstairs and I could never been better.
Yeah, yeah.
And and my dad said, honey.
Weeping.
He goes, honey, enjoy the deep breath of just, it's out, like,
it's going to be okay.
It literally just like to talk about like, and just get it out. Like, I've never felt better. And this last week I've been talking to people about this episode and again, it's like my skin's clearing up. Like everything is just like, we are stomping on the enemy's neck and like,
yeah, we are.
Get the F out of here.
Yeah.
And so with all of that to say, update, our lease is up in June and Jordan is moving into, we just yesterday got approved for this place that Jordan's going to move into, that I will be moving into, but for a couple months this summer, I'm going to move to Mikey's.
She's doing the thing.
And Abby's moving somewhere else too.
She don't need me no more. Yeah.
And we're doing it. And I'm literally so excited.
I'm so happy. I'm so excited for you. You're doing the hard thing, Bayle.
Yeah.
There's going to be so much blessing, so much beautiful things that will come from this decision. Not going to be easy.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard, Bayle. Like you and Jordan have been living together for some time and spending so much time together. Mm-hmm. I think this time of you guys being apart is going to be crucial. Yeah. I think the Lord is really going to be showing and speaking to you guys individually. Yeah. A lot of things. It's going to be great.
I'm so excited, and I'm so excited to live with my sister. Like, spoiler alert, I'm pretty sure we'll like not bubble. Like, I think we'll be wedding planning soon. My turn. Hello. But it'll be so fun to like live with my sister in that time and just like you guys, it feels so good.
Please be praying for Baylie and Jordan. This isn't going to be easy. Of course, this is the start of something beautiful. It's not going to be easy, sister. Mm-hmm. It won't. But please be praying for them.
I'm so excited. It's gonna be so beautiful. It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
So with that said, regarding the pod,
So I'm moving. Bailey's moving. Have some grace on us. So our lease is up June 9th. So at the very latest, we're going to be out of here June 9th, June 8th, whatever. The next couple weeks might be a little bit hairy with some new episodes.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that I'm going to be having a space where Baylie and I will be recording.
Yeah.
But bear with us. A lot of moving parts here. And please be praying for us too. I'm feeling overwhelmed. So if you guys could be praying some strength for me and Baylie and all of the moving and everything that comes with it, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so exciting.
Yeah.
And like, I'm like, seriously, I can see the intricate ways of like why you did move in here and why, like, even just for like our own life personally, for you to be like a voice and like see things and talk about things and all of that. But like, we wouldn't have this if we didn't like, it's all so intricate.
I know. It's so much fun when that happens, when you get a look back of like, oh, that's why I moved in here.
Yes.
Like it had been a couple months of me just being like, I'm starting to feel a little convicted. Lord, like, am I supporting this decision? But he made it so clear that no, like I have you for a reason here.
Yeah.
It was a fun run, sister. And it was a sweet time. It really was. I remember us three sitting out on the couch and I looked at Baylie and Jordan and I said, you guys, I'm really excited years from now. We get to look back on this. I just want to really soak in this sweet time that us three have together. Jordan taught me a lot about the guitar. You both have taught me cooking. You've poisoned me a couple times. The podcast came. Not going to miss this house, but I'm not going to miss it. I'm just always going to be thankful for the year I spent here.
Yeah, me too. It's been so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Baylie, thank you for being so vulnerable.
Yeah.
There's a lot of freedom that comes from sharing your testimony and it's unfinished. God's not done. And so I'm really excited to check back in with you and I'm sure our listeners, we're excited. We're praying for you.
Oh,
and
I'm
always here for you.
I didn't tell you this, but this is so sweet. Cooper, my coworker, I was just opening up with her at work about everything. And I was like, I haven't been talking about this and this is going to sound bad, but Jordan and I are moving out and da-da-da-da-da-da. And I started crying because I'm like, it's kind of hard because I feel like people don't get it unless you get it. And like, she's like, bae, doesn't matter. Literally doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
And the next day she texted me and she said, what's a Bible verse that's speaking to you right now? And I sent her that one and I was like, oh, I wonder why she wanted to know that. And she made me this. And this bracelet is Morse code for Psalm 32.
Cooper.
I know.
That's amazing.
I know. Isn't that so sweet?
What a beautiful friend.
And I just was like, oh, I know.
I love that.
I know.
Aww.
I had to tell you that.
Yeah.
But thank you. Yeah, it feels good to share.
Yes.
And I felt weird.
Bye, elephant.
Felt weird. Yeah, get out of here with your like we're asking people to be vulnerable and I'm like, I gotta rip the mustache off.
Right. But this was perfect timing, Baylie.
So perfect.
It really was.
Yeah.
If you would have talked about this a month ago, wouldn't have been the same.
Yeah.
You guys, please. If you're watching on YouTube, we would love if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Smash the subscribe button. I'm just kidding.
Smash the button.
Helps the channel out.
But if you're listening on like any of the podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, whatever it is. Does anybody hear that?
You're using Google. Throw that Android out the window right now.
Stop. We love every listener and every platform. Baylie,
get yourself right.
If you are,
get away from the green bubbles, honey.
Please leave a review on there. It does a lot for the podcast, and we want to get She Means Well out there. So share this episode to a friend.
Air out my dirty laundry, baby.
Air it out.
Yeah.
We love you guys. We hope you enjoyed this conversation. I sure did.
I hope you did.
Yeah. All right. We love you guys until next week. Or maybe a couple weeks. Let's be real. We're moving.
Yeah, we'll be vocal about what you can expect.
So follow us on Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Love you. Follow us. Answer submission prompts too.
Yes, please do.
Yeah. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.